Hello, welcome to our live broadcast. I'm Shuka Shemarani reporting for Xinhua here in Mexico City. We are standing at the site of two toppled buildings in Mexico City's Del Valle neighborhood. As you can see, rescue efforts are ongoing right now as people are still trapped in two different buildings that fell down within half a block of one another. We have volunteers, the army is here, the police is here, Red Cross teams are here, and they're working to move the rubble. It's 9:15 at night, and they've brought in special floodlights so that the rescue teams can see what they're doing. And they've also brought in heavy machinery to move some of the heaviest structures. Earlier today, some people were rescued from the building live. Unfortunately, some bodies were also found and removed from the site. This earthquake hit at 1:14 p.m. It was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that affected not just Mexico City but also surrounding states. In Mexico City, the death toll seems to stand so far officially at 30. But dozens have died in the states of Puebla, Morelos, and the state of Mexico. The earthquake happened on a day that commemorated the 32nd anniversary of the 1985 earthquake that killed thousands in Mexico City. In fact, at 11 o'clock, an earthquake drill commemorated that earthquake, and barely 2 hours later, this earthquake took place, leading many Mexico residents to recall the tragedy that happened 32 years ago. Now they're forming a line to remove the rubble from the site. So volunteers and rescue workers are passing buckets of rubble to each other, trying to get it away from the site to clear it so that they can have greater access to any survivors that may still be there. Right now, the organizers are calling for silence so that they can possibly hear anyone that may be trapped in the building. I've been told that cellular phones that ring, numbers that may be trapped there, can be heard. For example, a man that we spoke to earlier whose sister was possibly trapped in the building said he called her number and he could hear the cell phone. Unfortunately, that was the only thing they could hear. They're calling for silence once again.
les invita a que nos ayuden. Van a pasar aquí en la máquina. ¡Que te calles! Traen un reflector. ¡Que te calles! Va para allá, cuidado.
More heavy machinery is being moved to the site to help the rescue workers. It's a bit of a chaotic scene. A scene that's being played out at some 30 sites in Mexico City. Many of these volunteers are too young to remember the 1985 earthquake. But those who are older found it very eerie that such an earthquake would take place on the anniversary of that tragedy. ¿Cómo ven?
Sí, la gente está trabajando allá dentro muy bien. Ahorita separaron las actividades porque al parecer se quiere colapsar el otro edificio. Bueno, si te paras de frente es parte izquierda, de este lado es parte derecha.
Some young volunteers are telling us that there's another building near the one that has collapsed that seems to be a bit on shaky ground, so the rescue workers have to be especially careful.
Entonces, mujeres de este lado para pasar los botes, hombres de aquel lado porque está pasando el escombro.
Los botes vacíos van por atrás.
¡Dos botes! ¡Dos botes!
¡Bote por atrás!
Por atrás, bote atrás. Por atrás, pásalos.
¡Por atrás!
Por atrás, pásenlos.
Earlier, we spoke to one Mexico City resident whose sister lived in the building, one of the buildings that toppled here. It was a 7-story building, and his sister lived on the 6th floor. He told me that he had spoken to her about an hour before the quake, and they had had no premonition that anything would happen, but that they had discussed the drill that was taking place earlier at 11 a.m. I asked him how he found out about the building falling, and he said that his son called him after seeing the building, the collapsed building, on TV. His son called him and said, "Our aunt's building has fallen." He had rushed over with what he could. He had a small saw and a hammer and had climbed the rubble to help get her and other victims out. After a few hours, he told me that authorities told people to leave the area because they were moving in heavy machinery and professional rescue workers. Right now, as you can see, the scene has picked up, and the rescue workers seem to have found a brisk rhythm. They are moving rubble out of the area. Some young volunteers told us that another building on the street appeared to be on somewhat shaky ground, so rescuers are being especially careful. There are army troops on the scene as well. As these troops help in Mexico City, other troops are working in Oaxaca, one of Mexico's southern states, which suffered a major earthquake earlier this month on September 7th. That earthquake is reportedly the strongest to take place in Mexico in a century. And that one was also felt in Mexico City. This quake was epicentered in Puebla State, which is close to Mexico, and that's why, according to experts, this quake was felt so strongly in the capital. Buildings were also toppled in Puebla, and unfortunately lives were lost there as well. Rescue efforts are ongoing, and they look like they will be for many more hours yet, as different groups, the Army, volunteer groups, the Red Cross, try to get survivors out of the rubble and retrieve the bodies. So thank you for joining us, and we're signing out from Mexico City. Thank you.